Rev up your engines. All right, today we got a Subaru Legacy. Guy's got to decide he's going to keep it, he's going to get rid of it. I'll tell you all about the car. I'll also give you information you can use for any car to figure out whether you should keep driving it and fixing it, or whether you should get rid of it pronto before something major goes on. Now, this is a 2013 Legacy. The guy bought it when it was used with 90-something thousand miles. He's put about 60,000 miles on it. Numero uno, this is a Massachusetts car. So, let's say the thing is rusted away. I definitely say, time to say goodbye. So, the first thing we're going to look at is rust. Now, as we look around, really the paint's still in pretty good shape. It's got a little bit of bubbling rust around the windows. That's pretty typical. And when you look around, the wheel wells are still in pretty good shape. So it's jack time. We're going to jack it up a little, and we'll get it up in the air. What's the undercarriage like? And I'll tell you the truth, I'm kind of shocked. It's in pretty good shape. Now, of course, this is just plastic here. What we care about is the metal. Differential's got superficial rust. So does the exhaust pipe. So it's kind of shocking for this northern car. Look at this. You got a little bit of superficial rust, but you can hear it's still really solid. So that's a plus. But under the hood, there's a bit of a problem because the engine burns about a quart of oil every 500 miles or so. As you can see, there's a lot of superficial corrosion too, but that doesn't mean anything. It's actually in a very good shape in terms of rust. But seeing how it burns oil, this is where you have to decide two things. One, do you maintain your car? And do you change your oil regularly? Now, unfortunately, as they age, these four-cylinder Subaru engines do have a tendency of burning oil. Back in the olden days, the head gaskets blew all the time. But that was a long time ago. Subaru four-cylinder engines don't have head gasket problems anymore if you take care of them. The six-cylinder engines, yeah, they do, but not these fours. These are good engines. They don't blow head gaskets anymore. They do have a tendency of burning oil. Now, if you notice when we were under the car, the bottom of the engine, the oil pan, was bone dry. So this baby's not leaking a drop of oil, it's burning it. Now, if you're the type of person who's going to carry oil in the trunk, and you're going to say every time you fill up with gas, check it, if it's down half a quart of oil or whatever, add a little bit of oil and keep it up, they can still go quite some time. Just like those Toyotas with the four-cylinder engine or the Camrys for a few years, 2007 or so, often burn oil. They can go years and years as long as you keep adding the oil. In this case, runs perfectly fine. It doesn't affect the running of the car. It just burns oil. And that's because the oil control piston rings go bad. Now, if the compression rings go bad, then it won't have right compression and it'll run like crap. But this one doesn't run like crap. The oil rings just are notorious for wearing out on these things. And if you're the type of person that keeps adding oil into it, they can still go years and years. But on the other hand, if you're somebody who never opens the hood of your car, it'd be time to get rid of this because you would drive the thing a couple thousand miles and you wouldn't have any oil left in it and the engine would blow up. I often see the engines blow for that reason in these. So that's something that you got to think about. If you're going to check it, add it as needs be, it can still last quite some time. Everything else, AC, power steering, brake system, that's all working perfectly fine on this thing. And one of the reasons he bought it is because it's a sedan. Everybody wanted SUVs, so he got a better price on this used, and so far it's held up pretty well. Now realize one thing, Subaru is following everybody else. SUVs, crossovers, SUVs. So at the end of 2025, they said they're not going to make these anymore. Now, this one was made in the United States. They stopped selling them worldwide in 2020, except for the U.S., where they continue to make them here. But as of 2025, Subaru says they're not going to make these anymore because they want to make SUVs that cost more so they can make more profit. That's just the way that it goes. Now, you can see the interior still's in pretty good shape. Seats are in good shape, especially the seats in the back. He's young, he doesn't have any kids. He says it's just him and sometimes his sister in the car. So it's in excellent shape in terms of all the interior and everything. So let's get my machine out and see what's going on. Here we go, it's detected the vehicle. We'll do standalone diagnosis. Well, and we'll see what kind of shape this thing really is in. It already read the VIN. That's how fast it is. We will do an auto scan. And while it's scanning, we'll look around You can see, got 156,493 miles on it. Little baby screen. Can't make it much smaller than that. Now, you can either shift it manually with the paddle shifters, up and down, or you can just put it in drive. Now, he says sometimes I'll put it in manual and slap it back to drive. Hardly anybody uses that in these things. They just put it in drive and drive. These are good transportation cars. They're not race cars by any stretch of the imagination. This is a normal engine, doesn't have a turbo or anything on it. And truthfully, I would not advise anybody to ever buy a Subaru with a turbo, because then they will have a tendency of blowing head gaskets. Then their relatively weak transmissions will often blow, so you're better living with the speed that it has. If you want a faster car, buy a different brand. As you can see, he's got a piece of towel because the sunglass holder is broken. I would have done a little neater job than that. That looks kind of sloppy, but he doesn't care. Still got the sunroof, and like I say, the seats are still in excellent shape. They're very comfortable. Okay, it's found 6 trouble codes, so let's go through them all. The first one, the ABS system says it's got a history fault in a computer. Let's take a look at it. Parking brake system version 05. See, the trouble code is, it says at some point in time it had an ECM fault with the electronic parking brake. Well, he hasn't used the parking brake in years, so let's check that out. Okay, we'll start her up. It's holding it, so it's working now, so who cares? He doesn't even use the stupid thing. All right, now another code is your tire pressure monitoring. That, the tire 1 and tire 4 are decreasing, that they got a problem. Well, tire pressure monitoring systems are fine when they're new. When they get old, each tire has a sensor that is run by a battery. The battery goes out when they get old. So, unless you want to spend a ton of money changing all 4 sensors, ignore the TPMS, get a tire pressure gauge for $10 and check your own tire pressure. S3 AC codes, sun load sensor circuit open. Mode, door, actuator, lock. Mode, door, actuator, lock. They didn't care about that either because the AC blows cold. The sunlight sensor, these things break all the time. Hey, if it blows cold air in your face, who cares? And as for the rest, you see there's no more codes. So we'll just get rid of all those codes just for kicks. See, it's clearing the codes. It cleared them all except the sun load sensor because it knows the sun load sensor's broken. Who cares? It still blows cold. So let's go back to live data. Start it up. Here we go to live data, and we'll see what kind of shape everything's in. Now, if this car, say, was burning a ton of oil and had serious engine problems, it would have misfire, so we'd see that as they look at the data. So we'll start going through the data. Now, the long-term fuel trim, it's subtracting 1.6%. Not bad, it's almost 99% correct, with 156,493 miles, so we don't care about that. Everything's black, it's good like it should be. Misfiring. It's enabled, but there aren't any misfires. The cylinders all 4, 0, they don't have any problems. The oxygen sensor's going like it should. Lean rich, that's what it's supposed to do. So let's take it for a spin. And it is an older car, so there's no backup camera. Now check it out. Hey, 156,000 miles. Idle smooth as can be. This thing is still in good shape. It's a hassle that it burns oil, but that's what often happens to these Subarus because of that boxer design. It's an old-fashioned design, and it just doesn't take the mileage in like, say, a Toyota Inline 4. Here we go on the bumpy roads. Let's see how it goes. And the jury is not bad at all, actually, for these horrible roads. Still got the original struts on it, so hey, they get a plus for that. And here we go. We'll give it full gas, and sounds good. Not bad at all. The transmission's in good shape. The engine's in good shape. It just burns some oil. Pretty good for the mileage that it has on it. Now, it's not a race car with a CVT transmission by any stretch of the imagination, but it gets you where you're going, and it gets pretty good gas mileage. It says that it's getting 35.4 miles a gallon on the highway. Now, the owner doesn't believe that because he thinks he puts more gas in it than that, but that's what it says. They're not gas hogs, but do realize these are all-wheel drive vehicles, and all-wheel drive vehicles get slightly worse gas mileage because you're driving all the wheels all the time. Subaru's just nuts about all-wheel drive, and he lives in Massachusetts where it snows. So, you know, it does come in handy, and they're well-built systems. They very rarely break down. CVT is called a Lineartronic CVT, and it's got some very high technology to it, but you'll often find at higher speeds, you'll get a little bit of vibration when they age, when they have this kind of mileage on them. That's one of the reasons I'm not a CVT fan. They can go, okay, you do lose acceleration. This is no rocket ship. But the CVTs, you lose acceleration, but as they age, at higher speeds especially, they'll have more problems than a normal transmission will, just because of their design. When they get to the edge at higher speeds, they start to get a vibration problem that a normal transmission with actual gears won't, because you're going from one gear to the next gear to the next gear, and then when there's a problem at higher speeds, you're going to feel the vibration more than you're going to feel it at lower speeds. And a lot of guys have a hard time figuring out what's going on, but I see it all the time in these things. So, considering the shape that this thing is in, I say drive it. There's nothing seriously wrong with it yet. Yeah, it burns oil, got a little bit of vibration at highway speeds with the CVT transmission, but you're not going to get much for this vehicle. If you try selling it today, you're not going to get much. You're not going to be making them after next year. People really don't want sedans. In this case, I'd say drive it till the wheels fall off. You know, he bought it used. He's had it for years. The only real money he had to put into it was a catalytic converter because it got clogged up from burning oil. Just realize it is what it is. It's a used Subaru. It burns oil, has a little transmission vibration, perfectly good for driving around in, but let's say you want a trouble-free car, I'd say get rid of it now and get a Toyota Corolla if you can afford it. If not, keep driving the thing. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.